Today on E-Wasted, we are going to take this old 2009 Mac Pro and turn it into a TrueNAS server. Oh, this thing doesn't even chime. All right, well, that's not good. Today on E-Wasted, we're going to try to turn this old small business server into a TrueNAS server. Blinking power light and nothing. That's not good either. Today, I question every bad life decision I have ever made. Welcome to E-Wasted.
E-Wasted, not wasted. Watch it come alive.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of E-Wasted, a YouTube channel dedicated to finding new life and purpose for old computers and technology. My name is Tim and today we're going to be working on a problem that I have with my TrueNAS server. Now before we get into the problem, let's talk a little bit about what TrueNAS is. TrueNAS is an open source storage solution that runs on a wide variety of hardware. It will run on everything from your old PC with a bunch of drives thrown into it to an enterprise level cloud solution for a Fortune 500 company. It really is that scalable. Think of it as a Buffalo Terrace station or maybe a Western Digital MyCloud, except on steroids, and you bring the hardware. Now, I have been running this here at the house on an old Dell server, and it's been a great solution for the last 3 years. It has become the home of all of my digital junk that I seem to accumulate, whether it be video files I'm working on or things I've downloaded from Qobuz or HD Tracks or Tabletop RPG for that matter. All of it ends up there. Now, the problem is that it may not end up anywhere else because my backup solution is not very good. My backup solution right now is a USB drive hanging off of another computer that every once in a while I will remember to drag and drop files to from the server. In other words, this is not optimal and I need to do better. And that's why we're going to try to put TrueNAS on this Dell server today. Because what better way to back up a TrueNAS server than with another one? Now, this Dell is going to be a way better solution than the other machines I looked at the beginning of this video. The problem is, I also know this one is going to put up the most fight. And I know that because I've already went a few rounds with it and it won. The process for putting TrueNAS on this Dell begins with flashing some somewhat unofficial and unsanctioned firmware onto the RAID controller card. Now, I tried to do this about a year and a half ago or so, and I failed miserably. I think I know where I went wrong, and we'll try this again. It turns out that it's a two-step process, and I only remember doing one of them, so we're going to try to reflash this thing and see how it goes. The first step in that process is pulling the top off the server and getting elbows deep into the guts of the box. I'm not looking forward to that. This is a little bit out of my comfort zone and not something I really like to do. But, well, you know what? Nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? This channel is all about learning and pushing boundaries. And you know what? I have no money wrapped up in this server. This server was given to me by a former coworker of mine. Shout out to you, John. Really appreciate it. And so if things go south, well, what am I out? Not a whole lot. So let's go ahead and pop the top on this thing, pull the battery, and see if we can get TrueNAS installed. Beer, the magic fruit. So first things first, we need to go in and take the battery off of the RAID controller. So let's pop this bad boy open and get into this thing. Set this guy down. And our RAID controller is right over here, so let's take the shroud off real quick. This is our RAID controller, and the battery is supposed to be right there. That's where the battery is supposed to be. There is no battery. I wonder if I didn't put it back on the last time I was fighting with this thing about a year ago. Okay. Well, you know what? That's a problem for future Tim. We'll let him worry about that. For our purposes today, this is exactly what we need to accomplish. I may have to order another one because I don't... Have I seen that stupid battery around here? I don't know. We'll deal with that at some point. But right now, yeah, I guess we're done in here. Well, that was easy. Okay, fast forward a couple of weeks from the last time I filmed. The RAID controller card flash didn't go quite as well as I was expecting. I booted up from the first ISO like I'm supposed to, and I typed info at the command line. And I'm supposed to get something that looks a little bit like this up here, okay? It has a variant of the card, it has an address, things that I'm going to need to proceed in the future with this project. The problem is I got this when I typed info. And you can see there's not a lot of information there. In fact, there's a big fat 0 of information there. Now, I emailed the people who make the software, and I asked them what gives. They said it's possible that this card has already been flashed. Well, that would kind of jive with what I've done in the past, but the problem is I still can't install TrueNAS. And not only that, I'm not able to access any RAID controller functions in the setup of menus of this machine at all. So I think the RAID controller card might be cooked. And instead of trying to diagnose it any further, I decided to go ahead and order this. This is a new, to me, RAID controller card from Art of the Server. Best of all, it's already been flashed with the IT software I'm going to need. So let's go ahead and get this installed and see if we can move forward. All right, let's unbox a RAID controller card. I've removed the address label so I don't dox myself any more than I already do on any given time. Let's go and pop this guy open. No Spyderco needed today, folks. Ah, peanuts. Yummy. Maybe doing this on top of the server was a bad idea. Well, we'll clean it up later. Oh, come on. There you are. I wonder if Art of the Server has ever had anything unboxed. Well, they are today. All right. And here we have a new to me RAID controller card. Let's get this crap put away here so we don't have peanuts all over the studio. This guy over here. All right, back at it. Attention, electrostatic sensitive devices. Probably not supposed to do that. All right. We have a controller card. This looks vaguely familiar. This looks very familiar. Okay. Set this guy aside for a quick moment. And let's pop the lid on this guy. Big bad deal. All right. Come here, you little snot. And this guy should fit right in here like so. Hopefully. There we go. It should line up with the blue holes. Or with the blue pegs, I should say. All right. And it goes in like so. There we go. Hear the snap? It's what we wanted. All right. We have a RAID controller card in and ready to rock and roll. I hope. We'll see. Okay, folks, good news. I put that new RAID controller card in and I got something I had never seen before, namely a list of drives installed in the machine. It was like this new RAID controller card was recognizing everything, whereas the old one was not. So I think this old RAID controller card, I think it's trash. But with the new RAID controller card in, I ordered some more drives so we could all have all 6 terabyte drives in both machines, and started the installation of TrueNAS. Now, I did not film the TrueNAS installation process for a couple of reasons. One, my capture card really doesn't like that server. And two, there are a ton of videos out there. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can find plenty of sources on how this works without having to watch me stumble through the process. But I did get TrueNAS installed. The only thing I will say about the installation process is that when it asks you whether or not you want to use the web UI to configure the system or whether or not you want to use the console, use the web UI. Do not use the console. I tried that and I had a miserable experience. I tried to set an IP address for the machine through the console. Wouldn't let me. Tried it through the web UI. Wouldn't let me. In fact, the web UI wouldn't let me do anything. So I ended up reinstalling TrueNAS and selecting the web UI, and lo and behold, I was off and running, and I now have a TrueNAS box that functions. Now, before I jump into a quick kick of the tires of TrueNAS, let's talk about how I set up the storage pool. Now, when you set these things up, you have sort of a balancing act in front of you. You have data storage, which you really want to max out and use all your drives and all that, but you also have data protection. You can use all of these drives for data storage, but if one of them goes bad, you're done. You lose everything. So you can go with less storage space and have more data protection, which is what I did. I went with the maximum data protection, as a matter of fact. Out of my 6 drives, I am effectively using 4 for data storage, but I can also lose 2 of them and not lose any data. I think that's a fair trade-off, something to consider. But let's take a look at TrueNAS. We'll kind of kick the tires here a little bit. And we're going to start off with the dashboard. The dashboard is a nice, quick overview of your entire system. You can see right now we are using no CPU. We have 125.8 gigs of memory in the system, and you can see 54 gigs are used by the ZFS cache, all this different stuff that you can take a look at. Here's our IP address. You can see that our IP address ends in .99, and yes, I was thinking of Agent 99 from Get Smart when I did this. I don't know, I'm weird. But this is a nice brief overview of your system. Storage. Storage we kind of talked a little bit about. You can see it's a RAID Z2. You could actually set this thing up to run multiple RAIDs if you wanted to, but with our situation, it didn't make any sense. You can also see all of the disks in the system. And if you take a look here, you'll see that 2 of them are not 6 terabyte drives. And those 2 are where the TrueNAS OS actually resides. You don't need a 6 terabyte drive for the OS. And you'll also notice that there are 2 of them, which means I can lose 1. I'm still in business. Again, more data security. So let's go to data sets here real quick, and this is sort of the heart of the matter because this is where you store your stuff. You can set up different data sets for different purposes and assign permissions to them. So if you're running this in a business, you can set up an accounting one, an HR one, and never the 2 shall meet. You can see over here, these are shared out. These are Samba shares or SMB, which means that Windows can access them. And they're also set up for NFS, which means that Linux users can get to them. If I wanted to change any of that, I would just go over here to share. I can edit the permissions. I can edit whether or not it's available through Linux or whether or not it's available through Windows. You can do all of that through the Shares tab. Pretty handy. Data protection. We will come back to data protection. We'll talk about that quite a bit. Networking. Not a lot to talk about here in networking, really. I don't think. You've got the 4 network interfaces on the back of this machine. Credentials. Credentials is where you can add users. You can set them up into groups. All the things that an admin would want to do, including backup credentials. Again, something we will talk about here shortly. Containers. Containers is an experimental feature, but if you wanted to set up something in a Docker, this is where you would do it. Virtual machines. This TrueNAS is capable of running all kinds of different VMs. So if you wanted to set up an Ubuntu server to play with, or maybe a Nix OS or something crazy like that, you could do it here in VMs. Apps is where things get really powerful with TrueNAS. These are different applications that will run on the server, and you can do some really crazy stuff with this. There is an application called Nextcloud. Nextcloud, if it's set up and configured, you could really break away from a lot of big tech products. You don't need Office 365. You don't need Google. You can set up your own meetings. You can do your own word processing. You can share your files. All of the stuff that you do through these companies can be done through TrueNAS. And you can do it without their prying eyes or them teaching their AIs with your data. This is pretty handy. A quick scroll down here will just show what I'm talking about. I mean, you can run AI models on this thing. Might want to put a little better video card in it than what we've got running here, but yeah, you can do it, and it's all straight out of the box pretty much. There's of course there's Bitcoin apps because you got to use Bitcoin mining. You can set up a Minecraft server on this thing, which I might try that at some point. That would be kind of cool. Oh look, here is a self-contained fitness and weight tracker. What are you trying to tell me, TrueNAS? I know what you're trying to tell me, but it's just all kinds of things. There's even an app here called Automatic Ripping Machine. You put a optical media into an optical drive, and it will determine what it is, and then rip it automatically. Cool. This is really awesome. Lots of neat stuff here to choose from. The sky is really the limit. And if you're using a cloud service right now and you want to get away from them, TrueNAS might be able to help. Really super powerful stuff, really cool. Now that you've seen the new TrueNAS server and we've looked a little bit at what it does, let's talk about how I got it to talk to the old one. And it wasn't quite as easy as I was hoping. Not so much because of TrueNAS, but because of some different versions going on here. This particular server is running 2504, and the old server was running version 21, a legacy end-of-life version that was never going to get any more updates. That's kind of a problem. Now, unfortunately, there was no clear path to update from 21 to 25. I was going to have to go incrementally from 21 to 22 to 23 on down the line. I did not want to do that with all of my data sitting on that machine. I didn't think that was a good idea. So I decided to do an old-fashioned robocopy from one server to the other, and it took about 4 days to do. But when it was all done, I had everything on the old server now on the new one. I felt a little bit more secure and a little bit more confident about running those updates now. If something happened and I was, and the server failed or refused to boot after all those updates, I wasn't out of luck. I had all of my data. Everything was safe. So I went ahead and did the copy. It went smoothly. I did the updates. They also went smoothly. And then I could start to figure out how to get these guys to talk to each other. And it turned out to be pretty simple, but I didn't find a lot of videos on YouTube about this. I could find different tools that people were using to do it. Some were third-party, some were in the App Store, but they were set up more for real-time replication, so that if I sent a file to one, it would immediately go to the other. And that was kind of overkill for what I needed, and I was having trouble getting them to work anyway. But then I realized that there is built-in file replication between these things. Folks, I'm going to warn you, this is going to get pretty nerdy, okay? But I also didn't find a lot of videos on how this works. So I figure let's put this out here and see if I can help the next guy who's trying to accomplish something like this. And I started off by going here to my credentials. And I went to backup credentials. And you'll see there is an SSH key pair. Now I want to go ahead and add an SSH key pair. I am going to call this test. Now keep in mind, I already have this connection working, so I'm just going to create a test connection to show you how it goes. Let's go ahead and generate the key pair. It does. We're going to go ahead and save it. And we have an SSH key pair called test. Once I have my SSH key pair set up, I go to add SSH connection. I type in a name for it. I'm going to call this test 3. I had a test 2 earlier, and I don't know if it'll cause problems. I will say that do not name it the same as the key. It does not like that. Let's go ahead and put in the address of the server, which is 101. I'm going to put in my password, but you're not going to see it. I will select the private key that I need, which is test, and we'll hit save. Connection saved. Perfect. This is what we need. Now that you have your SSH connection set up between the old server and the new server, you want to go ahead and go here to data protection. And the first thing you're going to do is add a snapshot. Click on add. You can select your data set. In our case, I'm going to use the root file data store, which is called new file peg, that has my directory underneath it, sister's directory, applications, all of that. It'll grab it all. Well, it'll grab it all if you hit recursive. Remember to do that, because otherwise you're going to be very confused when this doesn't work. But select recursive, and you can actually exclude different directories. Like if you wanted to exclude applications, you could, but I don't have anything in there, so it's no big deal. You could set up a schedule. You can also set up a schedule. In this case, I think we're set up to run every night at midnight. Yeah, we're set up to run daily at midnight. And the snapshot lifetime is basically how long you can recover a file that you deleted. Say you delete a file on Tuesday, you realize it's gone on Friday, you can go back to a backup before Tuesday, and you can get it using the snapshot. So that's pretty cool. We're going to go ahead and leave everything else default, the naming scheme, schedule, all that stuff. We'll go ahead and say save. And we now have a new snapshot task that's going to run in 11 hours. You can see I have one that runs every hour already, but for our purposes, we'll just set one up to run at midnight. Now that we have our snapshot task done, we need to go ahead and add a replication task to go with it. So let's go ahead and hit add replication task. I'm going to go to the advanced wizard. The name is going to be E-Waysted for our replication task. It's going to be a push because we are pushing data from the new server to the old server. I kind of had them swap roles. When I had to do the robocopy, it just made sense to have the new server do basically the heavy lifting, and the old one is now reserved for backup. So it's going to be a push job to the old server. It's going to be a transport of SSH, and we're going to be, let's select our source. Now, keep in mind, you cannot just select the root directory for some reason. It does not like that. But you can select multiple directories underneath it. And in this case, we're going to go ahead and just use mine, okay? We're just going to use flotsam. And we are going to try and get, oh, you want to do recursive. Recursive is your friend. You can exclude child directories underneath it, but if you don't select recursive, it won't back up any of the subdirectories or any of the data in them. And you're going to be very confused as to why this is not working. Choose recursive. Once we have that, let's see, we have a, yeah, here we go. We're going to select this particular, we're going to select the appropriate snapshot. And for schedule, we're going to have it run automatically. It's thinking, I think. Yeah, okay, here we go. So it selected the one that we created. We're going to use the SSH connection that we created, test 3. And I think, oh, we need to have a destination. So we'll click on the arrow here. We'll just think about this a little bit. And we're going to put this in replication. I have a folder called replication where all this stuff is stored. That is where all the latest and greatest data is going to be found. And I think we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and hit save. There you go. We have created a new backup job from new server to old server. And that is pretty much how it all works. it's not hard. It's just kind of confusing sometimes. They use some different nomenclature than what I'm used to, but once you kind of get the hang of it and you figure out the whole SSH key thing, it's really pretty simple, and you can recreate this on the fly. Folks, that is going to do it for the TrueNAS server project, and hallelujah, it's done. This thing is supposed to go live on YouTube in a whopping 48 hours and change at this point. And I'm still doing reshoots and editing the video because this one's been kind of a stinker. But you know what? Let's take a moment to recap and go through what we've accomplished here in this video. One, the new server is up and running with the RAID controller card. That was its own little adventure. It's got TrueNAS installed on it. The old server got brought up from version 21 to 25 without blowing up. And most importantly, the new server and the old server are now talking to each other and backing up data automatically without me having to hit a button or drag and drop any files. That is a win. I will take that W and run with it. In fact, I will run with it to my next video, which is going to feature these. And if you're interested in what we're going to be doing with those, definitely hit the subscribe button and hit notifications. Now, if you recognize those and maybe you use those to record music off of the radio in your youth, you're due for a colonoscopy. You better get that taken care of. But regardless of that, if you like anything that we did today, if you came here and found out some stuff about replication, or you've been thinking about doing a TrueNAS server at home and you got some value out of this, please do me a favor and hit that like button. YouTube is not kind to new channels like us, and we could use all the help we could get. So if you could hit the thumbs up, it would help us a lot. But that is going to do it for E-Waysted today. Thanks again for watching, and until the next time, keep teaching those old dogs new tricks.
Ain't wasted, not wasted. Watch it come alive.
Folks, that is going to do it for this week's E-Waysted. Folks, that is going to do it for this episode of E-Waysted. Fuck it, we're done.